Hello everyone, it's Skills here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over the gun update. Now, mind you, it's not released yet, but it will be releasing soon, but I will be talking about the recently publicized version of the deep dive into the gun update. So I'm going to be talking about everything in that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first section is going to be about the new weapons. So I'm just going to read from the post. Currently in scpsecretlaboratory, we have 6 weapons, 2 pistols, 2 SMGs, and 2 full-size guns, assault rifles, etc. In the rework, we'd like to introduce some new weapons and remove/modify the old ones. We're going to have 9 firearms in total once the update comes out. All of these weapons, with only one small exception, will have new models, sounds, animations, and mechanics. This is going to be a huge change. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. First, we got the Project 90, or the P90. Sadly, it's going to be removed, and cadets will have a different gun. Most likely the cross-spec, but I'll get into that in a sec. Next, the MP7 will be completely renovated, and will have a different name due to legal reasons. Considering every other gun is kind of its own thing, the MP7 is literally the direct name of the real thing. So, fair. It will remain in the guard's hands. Now, the Com-15 is going to be based on a different model now. The SR-9C, to be precise. So, it's going to be more generic, I guess. It's good, and its purpose is going to remain the same. So, you can bully D-class or scientists. The same way, it's going to look a little different. Now, the USP is going to be nerfed to a proper sidearm with fast draw time and better stats than the Com-15. And the name is going to get changed from the USP to the Com-18 due to legal reasons. Again, fair, the USP is a real gun, so you can't just say the name because, legal stuff. And all the mechanics, animations, and sounds will get renovated, but the model and textures will remain mostly unchanged. So, it's going to look like the USP. It's going to be called different. It's just going to be called different. Next, we got the MTF E11SR, or the ESR. It's not going to change much. All it says is it's going to be based on a different AR style rifle. So, probably something like the M4. I mean, it already looks like kind of the M4, but we'll see. The cross-spec, which I talked about earlier, is going to replace the P90. It's inspired by the Chris Vector. And I'll show a picture on screen of what the Chris Vector looks like. So, yeah, you can expect to see something like that. Now, the AK, I know, exciting, is going to be a new weapon for the Chaos Insurgency. They haven't chosen a model yet, so it's probably going to be based on the barrel WZ96 or the AK-12. I will show both pictures of what they look like so you can get an idea. They both relatively look the same, in my opinion. Next is the shotgun, which is another new weapon. I know, shotgun, it's crazy. A model has not been chosen, which makes sense, because they're still testing it, so probably really early, because it's such a huge difference. But yeah, and something I'm really excited for is the 44 revolver, and a new handgun inspired by the Smith & Wesson Model 500. I'll show a picture. And this will serve as the sidearm for the Chaos shotgunners, which is very nice. It'll be very powerful, but with limited ammo capacity. Makes sense. A revolver is powerful, but, So, and the last one, which is the Logister, everyone's favorite weapon, is going to be based on a different machine gun. So, yeah, it's going to be changed a little bit, and it's going to receive a huge buff. So, probably a damage buff and an ammo capacity buff, most likely. Maybe it's probably like 150 or something. I don't know. But, yeah. Alright, moving on to the Chaos Insurgency subclasses. I know, it's exciting. So, in this update, we would like to introduce new subclasses for the Chaos Insurgency. Unlike the Nine-Tailed Fox, we aren't going to have one commander, a fixed number of subcommanders, and an undefined number of soldiers. We're still planning to have 3 subclasses, but they will all be the same rank, and the number of people spawning as a certain class will be determined by a percentage, not a fixed number. If that sounds confusing, don't worry, just keep reading. The Chaos Insurgency will get the following setups. Now here's where they talk about the thing. I'll show a picture of the graph of all of this. So, setup 1, AK, combat armor, painkillers, and access device. Now, it says armor. I'll get to that in the next section. Setup 2, shotgun, revolver, combat armor, medkit, and access device, instead of 3, Logister, heavy armor, medkit, and access device, or the Chaos Insurgency keycard. And upon the respawn, people are given setups based on the values in this table. Here's the show the picture of the table. Pause if you'd like to look through it. And those are the Chaos subclasses. Now, moving on to body armor is going to be very interesting and a very different mechanic, which I will cover when this update release. Look out for that video. When this thing drops, I'm going to cover everything again, because most of this is probably subject to change. So I will cover when the beta drops. I will be covering the beta, so I can get gameplay of it. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to start reading. Here we go. So all classes would have exactly 100 HP, and body armor will reduce the damage taken from bullets and explosions. It won't save players from SCPs, falling, or any other sources of damage. Obviously, because there's no... This isn't Portal where you don't take fall damage because you have the magic boots. Anyways, armor always takes 1 slot in the inventory, even if it consists of multiple elements. For example, vest, helmet are considered to be a single item. Ooh, helmets. Interesting. Since many tactical vests are equipped with special pockets for magazines, wearing armor in-game could increase the limit of ammunition and grenades. That means all humans without body armor will have the same limit of grenades and ammo, no matter what class they play. It's very interesting. When armor is dropped, all the ammunition and grenades exceeding the limit are dropped as well. That's fair. That makes sense. You can't hold something when you can't hold it, if that makes sense. Anyways, wearing armor can reduce the movement speed and or increase stamina usage, but this effect shouldn't be too intense, at least for military classes, because you know, they've trained to bear that. Players won't be punished too harshly for wearing armor, as the slot it takes up in the inventory is enough to discourage some players from using it. Armor can be dropped on the ground by right-clicking its icon on the inventory like every other item. Armor will also drop automatically when someone dies or gets disarmed. Obviously, it makes sense. The dropped armor can be picked up by any other player, giving them the same benefits as those who wore it previously. If this feature happens to affect the gameplay negatively, we will increase the stamina usage or reduce the movement speed for the civilian classes only, so D-boys, scientists, etc. This will stimulate the fact that they are not used to wearing armor, because they're civilians. Changing these two values will allow us to control how likely civilian class players are to use the armor. Unlike many other games, armor won't deteriorate, and its efficiency will not be affected by any damage it has already absorbed, so if you got shot, it won't deteriorate. At this point, we aren't able to tell if the body armor will be displayed on player models, as the current character models may not facilitate that task. Which is kind of sad, but hopefully they rework the player models so they can do that. We're going to have 3 armor items. The values below are merely to visualize differences. Please do not treat them as anything final. Obviously. Guard armor, used by the facility guards. The efficiency of the armor for body damage is 40% and 45% for headshots. So you take 40% reduced damage and 45% reduced headshot damage. Combat armor, used by nearly all MTF and CI classes. The efficiency of the armor for body damage is 65% and 80% for headshots. Heavy armor, used by MTF commanders and CI machine gunners. The efficiency of armor is for both body and headshots is 80%, so it will take a lot longer to kill them now. Please note that these percentages are inflated because they are dependent on the bullet penetration mechanic. Even the least powerful weapons can penetrate 50% of the body armor, meaning its damage reduction drops by half. The actual damage reduction can be calculated using this formula. I will show the formula if you want to calculate it for yourself. I'm not going to do that right now. For example, bullet penetration for SMGs and pistols is between 40 and 60%, while rifle and LMG bullets penetrate up to 80 to 95%. Just for visualization purposes, let's consider a scenario where all weapons deal exactly 20 damage and they only differ in penetration capabilities. If you're attacking an unarmored enemy, the body damage is always 20. The result of a formula gives 0% damage reduction, whatever. However, if the enemy is wearing heavy armor, which has an 80% effectiveness, an SMG or pistol will only deal 12 HP, while rifles should deal 16.8 for exact value. To kill someone, you need 9 shots from the SMG as opposed to only 6 shots from a rifle. This will definitely change how long it takes to kill someone, obviously. Remember that they deal the same base damage. The only difference is their armor penetration capability. Here are some calculations if you still don't know how that works. And I'll show the picture of that. Yeah. Calculating headshot damage is exactly the same, but the result is multiplied by 3.5. Again, numbers in the example are purely for visualization purposes. The damage will be different for each weapon, obviously because they all use different things. New mechanics. We're changing nearly all weapon mechanics. This section is pretty much a list describing all the elements we're going to change. This is going to take a little bit to read, but I listened carefully because it's very interesting. Okay, first off, we have more attachments. We're introducing stocks, grips, and different magazine types. Ooh. They will be able to change the weapon draw time, accuracy, even stamina usage in extreme situations. Foundation guns can be adjusted at workstations or while spectating. Chaos Insurgency guns can only be changed while spectating. We want unmodified weapons to be just as powerful and universal in their own way. Attachments can boost certain stats but always come with downsides. In other words, attachments let you make your gun more task specific and adapted to your style of gameplay. But leaving your weapon without any attachments won't be a bad decision either, unlike what it is now, which is if you don't have attachments, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Inaccuracy. The effect that causes bullets to fly in random directions, which causes the current launcher to be super ineffective at long distances. We'll now play a more important role. Standing still and aiming down the sights guarantees the best results, while running, jumping, and sprinting makes the weapon unpredictable. This also depends on the weight of the weapon. Long, heavy firearms such as the largest or rifles with heavy attachments become very ineffective unless you remain stationary. SMGs and lighter rifle setups are more forgivable, but only at short distances. Recoil patterns will be introduced. Bullets will still land while you're aiming, but the camera kick will follow a predefined movement path. This is something which you can learn to get better at, i.e. Rust COD style, not Counter-Strike style. Hit scan will remain the same, which means bullets don't have a simulated physical form. Instead, they will travel with light speeds. We're going to experiment with a penetration system of thin surfaces, but nothing has been finalized, because that would be quite a heavy task to do. And we aren't sure if that's really what we're looking for in our game. Ammo counters, while unrealistic, will still be used. There will be no fixed GUI element that tells you how much ammo you have left unless you open your inventory. Weapon manager tablets. We've decided that workstations will no longer require them. We're also planning to move the drop ammo feature as a button in the inventory. This renders the tablets relatively useless. Considering the body armor occupies an inventory slot, tablets would most likely be dropped by an even bigger number of players. If we decide what to do about SCP-079 generators, tablets will be removed. Reloading. The process is going to be more complex as it will respect the fact of having a bullet in the chamber. Ooh, interesting. Each weapon will get a few reload animations for diversity. Hopefully they're good. I'm hoping they're good. And not what they are now, which they're not that good. Ammo. Due to new weapons being added to the game, we need to have more than just 3 different ammo cartridges in the game. Because new weapon types are now a thing, we're forced to add more than just 3 different ammo cartridges to the game. Currently, in Secret Lab, we have 9mm, 5.56, and 7.62. We've decided to standardize the matter, and the Chaos Insurgency use completely different cartridges than the ones found in the facility. The Foundation weapons will use 5.56 by 45 and 9 by 19, and the Chaos will use 7.62 by 39, 44 mag for the revolver, and 12 gauge for the shotgun. In addition, we're adding different bullet types, which differ in penetration and damage. Full Metal Jacket, considering the universal type and is default for most weapons. It has average penetration and damage and will serve well against all enemies. Armor Piercing, AP, has higher penetration than Full Metal Jacket. The base damage is the same, but it's usually balanced by having fewer bullets in one magazine. Jacketed Hollow Point, JHP. Bullets which, in real life, expand their diameter upon impact. This causes more damage to internal organs, but has less penetration. In the game, they would perform much better against unarmored enemies, but slightly worse if the enemies were body armor. To simplify things, we've decided that bullet type will be considered as a weapon attachment, depending on the selected magazine. If, for example, you have two MTF rifles, one using AP and the other using FMJ, once you reload, they will both be filled from a collective 5.56 by 45 reserve ammo, meaning that bullets become a specific type the moment they are loaded into the gun. Weapon types. Now, this section is very long, so I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to summarize all the new things, but I'll leave the full reading in the description if you want to go read it yourself. Currently, in SCP-Secretlab, all automatic weapons behave the same. Shooting SMGs and rifles feels exactly the same. We want those differences to be more prominent in this rework. Handguns are meant to be used as secondary weapons, in case you can't find anything better, or your main weapon runs out of ammo, or becomes otherwise ineffective in a given situation. They all share two main disadvantages, one being lack of sustained fire, and the other low ammo capacity. These make them very ineffective against SCPs. Now it's all the things, which is the COM-15, COM-18, and the revolver. I won't describe them because I've already described them, but I'll let you read them. And then we have SMGs are weaker than proper rifles in terms of damage, accuracy, and penetration, but their compact size allows fast draw times and allows somewhat accurate shots, even when running. They also produce low recoil and high fire rate. In other words, SMGs do a good job in killing enemies and damaging SCPs in nearly all situations. It gets tricky when fighting against armored opponents, especially if they are in possession of proper rifles, but even then, the high mobility of SMGs can be used to your advantage in shortening the distance and rushing the target. Rifles are characterized by high precision, penetration, and base damage. This makes them the weapon of choice when fighting at long distances, against armored enemies, and most SCPs. They have the highest number of possible attachments, with many configurations that drastically affect how the weapon behaves. While capable of continued fire, shooting more than a dozen so rounds will have an impact on accuracy and recoil control, rendering them only effective on very short distances, such as when fighting SCPs. The first few rounds, however, are very accurate. The rifles are meant to be used in short bursts when fighting at a distance. The Logister will become much more accurate and powerful. It's going to be a rather exotic weapon, as only 1 in 2 instances spawn every typical CI wave. Logister has the highest fire rate amongst all the firearms, automatic firearms. A number of attachments and the ability to aim down the sights, makes the Logister way more accurate than it is currently the case. The real downside of this is its weight. When held, stamina usage is increased and movement speed is slightly reduced, obviously because it's a very heavy weapon. As an outcome, efficiency against SCPs is naturally reduced, as you can't effectively run and shoot. The Logister is only effective when the shooter is stationary. Any movement will slightly increase the bullet spread, rendering this weapon very inaccurate. The Logister can maintain a continued fire, which remains accurate and easy to control, unlike the rifles. It's not particularly configurable, as it only has 64 unique combinations. These combinations are determined by 4 barrel options, 4 sights, and 4 rail-mounted options. The shotgun is still a very big mystery, even to ourselves. Unfortunately, we aren't able to provide any meaningful details, but we definitely want such a weapon to be in the game. We need to perform multiple tests with prototypes so we can decide which real-life model fits SCP-Secretlaboratory best. Balancing is definitely going to be a difficult process, but we decided that the shotgun will always shoot buckshots, with no other ammo types, no slugs, the revolver is for long ranges. We'll start our prototyping process with a double-barreled pump action, such as the DP-12. Having 2 rounds per 1 pumping action may be an interesting mechanic. And then they have a table of different ratings of different stuff, so I will show that on screen. And yeah, and then there's a Q&A section for different stuff, so I'll let you read that. And yeah. Alright, well, you've made it through the video. I know I didn't really give my own opinion on a lot of stuff, so I will in another video, which I'll give my opinions on everything I said in this video and what I think. But yeah, I hope this video was informative and interesting. And I hope to see you in the field. Peace out.